Shaloha, everybody. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Trying to ground down from those statements. My girl's music. Good job, Kelly. Woo! Love it. Thank you, God, for letting me open my heart so that others may open theirs. No approval needed. Yeah. When I got the email for this week's topic, I was like, well, talk about divine timing. Could this be any better? No approval needed. I opened that and was like, okay, universe, I got this. I know what's up. I know where I'm going with this one. Been making notes about it ever since. Been feeling this big shift in my own life. Kind of like the moon, how we go in phases, right? There's like beginnings and endings. I've been feeling my own personal beginnings and endings and phases with the moon and things in my life and coming and going, and we're getting ready for Exodus, right? For Passover, and where I always feel a personal connection. My journey to becoming a healer, I don't know, Reiki master, teacher, yoga teacher, rabbi, whatever it is I am, started with an Exodus, and me calling it an Exodus without me realizing it was an Exodus. And I feel like Exodus is this like very cyclical point in my life where, just like the moon, we go through these phases of liberation, right? Where we begin a journey and we think things are one way, and then it starts dark, and we're like kind of coming to a lighter space, and it shifts out, and then we're in liberation and freedom. And it's like we're in this weird spiral where it's like everything's kind of the same, but it's just a little bit different each time. So for me personally, this no approval needed concept has been like, yeah, whatever. Like, I got this. Because I think that idea of like true authenticity and not needing approval truly comes when you're in the space of source. To me, that's what confidence is. That's what that inner light is. That's what that radiance is this knowing and this unwavering faith, if you will, but not even faith, but more so just like a deep knowing that something's got your back. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone else says or does in reality, because that's about them, right? One of the 4 agreements is not to take anything personally. I try and live by those agreements. And when you really can do that in your life, when someone can spew their hate and their drama or whatever they got coming at you, and you can be like, cool, that's not about me, that's about you and whatever you've got going on right now, that to me is not needing approval, because you know something bigger than you has you acting in your best interest. Has you making your choices from this place of higher consciousness, of your divine self, your higher self, your God self. No one, anything, no, that wasn't a sentence. No one can ever say or do anything that is about you. Everything we say or do is about us, because we are the only ones who feel our feelings. We are the only ones who speak our voice. No one can think for you. No one can talk for you. No one creates your beliefs for you but you. And this concept of radical accountability is scary, dude. Whoa. Like taking that power and being like, I'm in control of everything in my life. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is you want to call it, label, no label. But that to me is not needing approval. That's knowing that we've gone through stuff before. We've gotten out, we're going to get out again. I'm coming up on my own exodus, in a sense, and why this is so deep for me right now. 7 years ago, I was ordained as a rabbi. 7 is a big number in Judaism. On the 7th day, God rested, the Sabbath. You have 8, right? 7 energy centers plus 1 above. It's completion. Every 7 years, they say you get like a new body, a new mind. You have whole new cells, all new DNA. 7 years ago, I hosted my first Passover Seder ever as a rabbi at Sweet Cane Cafe. Went to Jackie and was like, I want to host a Seder. I don't know if anyone's going to come. And sure enough, 65 people showed up. I know, right? And now we're at like Nani Loa, and I'm looking back and getting these types of introductions, and I'm just like, whoa. From this like crazy little girl who had this dream to this spiral of what I was always meant to become and create, and watching like this baby that I had, this organization that I birthed at that time, go through growing pains that like a 7-year-old would go through. The property that I purchased and had envisioned to be my synagogue and retreat center, I'm moving out of 2 days before Passover. Whoa. Talk about letting go in a spiral. My donkey's coming with me, don't worry. You'll see my donkey down here in HPP, everybody. But honestly, thinking about that spiral that we go through, like the moon and phases and new beginnings. Right before I got this email for no approval needed topic, the last new moon, so not this new moon that we just had a few days ago, but the new moon before that, I always write intentions on the new moon. I wrote very clearly, I only want healthy, stable, easy, fun relationships in my life. By the full moon, I'd had like 6 people phase out, just like naturally. Isn't that crazy? Bringing their stuff at me, trying to make it about me when it's clearly about them. And I sat at that full moon and I was like, whoa, you just took that from me. I told you to take it and you did. These are relationships that weren't healthy. They weren't easy and fun and stable. And just like that, you removed them from my life. It's crazy how when we really put stuff out there and surrender to it, that we go through these phases just like the moon. It's so nuts to me to think that the moon doesn't impact us, that it impacts the tide and the stars and the oceans, and we think we're bigger than that? What? That's what we are. And the Jewish people have always been associated with the moon. We're a lunar calendar, right? We're not a solar calendar. That's why Seder's on a Wednesday this year. Sorry, everyone. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. I can't make when the full moon is. But the reason the Jewish people have always been associated with the moon and not the sun is because we've been commanded to shine in darkness and to go through these phases, to understand Exodus. And to me, that's all people. We're all Jews. Preface that. If you know me, you know my beliefs. We're all one. We're all one consciousness, labels, whatever. I could go into a much deeper thing on that, but that's another spiel for another day. But there's something to this concept of these stories that we've been telling over and over and over again for 5,783 years, still being relevant to where we are in our spiral, in our place of knowing that we don't need approval. Think about how scary it must have been for our ancestors to truly rise up, not just in Egypt, but in Rome, Babylon, a million other times, the Holocaust. All these things that have happened before, where we have been forced to know that we don't need approval, that there's something bigger than us that is truly in control. And just like the moon, we go through these phases of beginning and ending, of darkness and light, and not knowing where we're going to end up, but having that faith and that trust that we don't need approval from anyone else. Carolyn Mace has been a big source in my life of literature that has impacted me greatly. And one of her books, she talks about how we all have different archetypes that we all possess. The child, the victim. One of those is the prostitute. And the prostitute is not what you're thinking. The prostitute is how much spiritual power are you willing to sell for comfort in the earthly realm? The prostitute is how much spiritual power you are willing to sell or sacrifice for comfort in this earthly realm. Meaning that at every moment, each of us is given a choice. If we want to take that stuff on and let things be easy, or we want to make a choice to know that something else doesn't need our approval, that something bigger than us is at work. And I think the internet has changed this concept completely. Because before, if you had a fight with someone, or you had something going on with them, and they went out on the middle of the road, and they were just screaming about how bad you were and how crazy you were, people would drive by and be like, "You're a psycho, what are you doing?" Now people go on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, like Kanye West, and just go off. This person's that, this person's that, this person's that. And people read it and think it to be true. But it's not. It's all one person. That ability to not take anything personally and not sacrifice your earthly power that is limited. None of us are getting out of here alive. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Sorry, I'm not sorry, but it's just the truth. But how much you are willing to not need approval here because you're approved there. Because that's what your higher self is. That's what it is. Life begins and life ends. The first service I ever had in the space on my property that I'm letting go of was a Tisha B'Av service. And Tisha B'Av is where we honor the destruction of the Second Temple. We built a synagogue, the Romans destroyed it. We built a synagogue, the Babylonians destroyed it. And we celebrate that because it means we're going to build again. And I felt very, very, very called for that to be the first service I ever held in that space, because I'm going to build a synagogue. And I don't mean just a physical one. That's going to happen. You should know, if I put my mind to something, it's going to happen. But a spiritual one. Holding that space for a new earth, for a new consciousness. And the last service I ever held in that space was a celebration of life for my friend who's since passed, who was there drumming as I rapped at that first service, when I was still finding my voice, when I had just become a rabbi, when I was still figuring things out. She drew a mural on the wall. I remember her painting it. And then I said goodbye to her as I said goodbye to this space. Because life is a spiral. We begin, we end. Things start, they begin. And we living here in the land of Pele know this better than anyone. I was just at Poiki a few weeks ago, and it made me reflect on how much has changed. And I went down there with my daughter, and it's a hard thing for me to go down there. It's really rough. I have so many happy memories. I remember finding my spiritual self there, becoming a yoga teacher there. Surfing there was where I really learned to surf. And I go down with my daughter, and she has none of those connections. To her, it's just these epic hot ponds. And to see her take that and transmute it to light and rainbows and love, where I felt grief and pain, is that spiral. It's how we know that we don't need approval. There's something bigger than us that will always force us to start and stop, from new to full. You are the moon. We are the moon. The moon doesn't ask for approval to shine. The moon comes out and lights up and tells those stars to get out of the way. Shaloha. Aloha. Here we go. I'm going to open my heart. I don't need to know. I can listen and learn, sway to and fro, choose to be vulnerable and know I will grow. God is here now, directing the show. I summon my angels, their trumpets they blow. The divine feminine is rising. Get with it, bro. We're here and we're powerful, these bitches and hoes. Who choose to rise up, patriarchy sinks low. We will birth a new planet, new seeds we will sow. Capable of so much, I just sit back like, whoa. How do we carry it all? So much baggage in tow. Merrily, merrily, our boats we just row. Relationships be phasing out, but for a reason I have no doubt. I don't have energy when you cry and pout. I hold space for others during spiritual drought. You see, I be on that higher vibe, raising consciousness, gathering my tribe. When I was younger, it was like I would bribe to try and keep things on my side. How I ended up a child bride, but there are no accidents. I move with pride. I feel connected to those who've died. Gratitude, I'm still here on this crazy ride. Can't believe all of the things I've tried because I was no longer scared to hide. The view I see is extra wide. Our spiritual connection is looking real fried. We gotta go with the flow, move with the tide, make progress and take the stride. Be able to say, at least we tried, so by the dogma, I won't abide. I am open, everything untied. We're all human, we've all laughed and cried. But to ourselves we too have lied, and I will no longer be quiet and hide. Do I need approval? No, because I don't live my life for show. I surrender to the highest flow. We have no choice but to grow, to ride the wave to and fro. Life gives us baggage, we choose to keep it in tow. But it's amazing what happens when we choose to let go, surrender to the moment, and choose to go slow. Life can be a gift topped with a bow. It can be your garden, you water and hoe. You don't need approval, you already know. You can choose to go high when you want to stoop low. And you don't need approval or your ducks in a row. No approval needed, I don't need to be liked. I speak my truth and I don't need to be right. I choose love, I don't live in fright. I guide with my heart, not will or might. Just like the moon at night, lighting up darkness, we can choose to shine bright. Out of the apple, I will always bite. For the divine feminine, I'm here to fight. Dismantle the patriarchy, reach new heights, a universe built on love and light, where we know to let go when we want to hold tight, to see in rainbows, not black and white. Together as one, we reach new heights, consciousness rising, soaring higher than kites. We can choose to see, we have insight. Time is just a construct of the third dimension. This I feel like I have to mention. Put more energy and spirit than your pension, because we were put here to break this tension. No approval needed, I don't give a, and that's what happens when you don't need luck. Confidence is knowing you will never be stuck. The divine has your back when you're there in the muck. When you surrender to the fact, sometimes life sucks, but you can trust the knowing you'll get out of the guck. Spiritual prosperity isn't making a buck. It's flapping your wings, letting go like the duck, shining your light because your heart you can't tuck. This week's topic is divinely timed. Still blows my mind how I channel these rhymes. Like when I said where what's cooking, the divine is the brine. I can't even explain it, these words aren't mine. It's why I can't sit there and pretend everything's fine, and why I will never be scared to shine. Others can grumble and moan, complain and whine, but that's about them, people flip on a dime. Not being accountable is legit a crime, blaming others for your stuff and not seeing the signs. Talking trash and gossip when you shouldn't even mime. Between darkness and light is a very fine line. But it's so simple to follow, commandments 1 + 9. I will never let others stop me from sharing my voice, because I have the power, I make the choice, and in this moment we shall all rejoice. The higher you rise, the more others want you to fall. But I'm a goat, so I'll keep climbing that wall. So much in the air, I juggle these balls, choosing to answer when the divine calls. I don't have energy for drama, negativity, or brawls. When others stoop short, we can choose to grow tall. No time but now, God doesn't stall. We have life and breath, we are not dolls. Made to sit still and be pretty, or just sit in malls, but forced to take the mightiest halls. Lord only knows if my message is clear, but the divine has spoken and I choose to hear. To a new earth I know we are near, where we only know love with no space for fear. It's all a spiral and we are in gear. Accidents don't happen, coincidences aren't mere. You don't need approval, please know this, my dear. It's like into the future I can almost peer and see the support with fear in the rear, and you don't need approval to level up a tier. The moment is now, the time is here. And I think that's all I've got to say. No approval needed, as I share today. To the darkness, don't fall prey. Choose the light, be still and pray. The word is insane, people be cray, but when you don't need approval, you're just like, hey. There's no black and white, there's only gray, and you have been chosen because in the ground you don't lay, which means you're approved, come what may, because God put you here and you're with us today. You'll be guided back when you choose to stray, called to surrender, keep ego at bay. God will just nudge you and be like, hey, earthly approval, but with you I stay. When you don't need approval, you pave the way, and our ancestors' debts you choose to pay. Because you're here now, come what may. Approval needed, I vote nay. No approval needed. Shaloha. Namaste. Thank you, everybody.